So from earlier, I'm going to work from this point as if that's where my butt's sitting. So I know that my frame needs to be 36 inches wide. Now I'm going to make and keep this center of my frame. So half of 36, we're gonna go 18 inches to the right. And you have to hit apply after you create any pick point. So you'll hit apply and it'll generate a little green dot over there. Now we've got to do the same thing we did to the right, but to the left. And if you click over here on the left, you'll see it'll automatically bring the right dimension that we punched in over to the left-hand side as 18, and we will hit apply. Now, I'm going to clear the values. So now everything's back to 0 and I'm still working off of this pick point. Now, if you remember from earlier, I went from the pick point forward 24 inches. All right. Now this is center of where I was. This isn't exactly where the frame's going to be sitting, but that's dead center and we can work off of that. So there's 24 inches and I had to hit apply. Otherwise, it's going to add the 24 inches to the back when I move it. But if you remember, we changed our dimension backward 16 inches. So now that I've got 16 there, I'm going to hit apply and then clear my values. So now I've got some rough pick points generated. When we go to start adding some shape to this, we're going to come from each pick point and change and add dimensions to those. Now, instead of working from the center, now I want to come back and make sure my frame is X amount wide right here. I'm going to click that point and I'm going to make this rear portion here 12 inches wide. So again, I'm going to keep it even. So I'm going to go to the right 6 inches, hit apply, to the left 6 inches, hit apply. Clear values. Now our side points, I know that I want a little bit of room for my seat and my axle and everything to mount up on. So maybe a better way to see what I'm doing is I'm going to come up to projections. I'm going to click that, and this will show you, you've got some isometric views that you can click and change, or you can just have it viewed from the top, from the right, from the back. Right now it's confusing because it's just dots, but here in a minute when we add the frame, it'll make a little bit more sense. So we're going to hit from the top down. Now, right now, we've just got our side points connected or drawn. We're going to add a little bit of room here for our frame to have our seat, to have our axle hangers, things like that. So I'm going to go back from that point. I'm going to make this 24 inches in total. So I'm going to go 12 inches back and then 12 inches forward, apply. And because I've done that to the left-hand side, I'm going to make sure before I clear my values, I'm going to click this reference point and hit apply, flip it back, apply. Then I'm going to clear the values. So now you can see we're starting to get together a frame, sort of connect the dot here. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm not really liking how far back these points are. So I'm going to show you how to delete a reference point. What you're going to do is over here on our menu is we're going to go from single over to edit pick points. And I'm going to click the delete points. Now you can click and use this and come over and remove which ones you're wanting. Or if you were to click this delete it will also delete your pick points. Now, after you click, and keep this in mind, after you click delete on any of these features, you need to click one of these other tabs before you start clicking and changing here. Otherwise, you're just going to delete those features. If you do accidentally delete the features, Control Z is an undo, and you're able to undo your boo-boo in case you do that. So we're going to go back to single pick points. And instead of going back 12 inches on this, let's see what going back 6 inches looks like from this pick point. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to hit apply, click this reference point, apply, now clear the values. All right, now we've got 3/4 of our bottom frame drawn, and we have our reference point up front here for where we want our head tube to start going up, our front cross member stuff. Now I want my 2 bars that are going up to the front head tube to match what I've got back here. And I've got them right now about 12 inches apart, so I'm going to add to the left 6 inches, add to the right 6 inches. All right, now what I'm going to do is go up from there, and we're going to change the projections and look to the right. So now you can see, just for reference to remember where we're looking, and you can look on this TriStar as well, is we have the front to the right of us and back to the left of us. And I'm going to be down below this and hold on the right clicker and drag that down just so I can see my reference points that I've generated here. So from these points, I'm going to click that. I'm going to go up 24 inches. And you can see the nice thing is it'll generate that pick point for you, so you can kind of generally see, if you can just use a little bit of imagination here, where that tube is going to go. All right, but I don't want my head tube, that front cross member, to go straight up from there. So I'm going to add front dimensions here, which will cause this to lean forward. Now you can see, I'm going to change this projection to look to the right so we can see it a little bit better. Zoom out some. You can see it leaned forward just a little bit, but I want a little bit more. So we'll go 8 inches, 9. That's starting to look a little better. Let's see what 10. Yeah, let's do 10 inches there. Now I know we had our hand-drawn blueprint where we gathered some dimensions, but that is also just a starting point. That's not a have to. We're still within our guidelines here of making sure this will fit us personally. But as we're drawing this, if your mind changes, or once you've got it drawn, it doesn't look how you envisioned it in your mind, well, we can change it. All right, so I've added that dimension. I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to click this reference point and hit apply as well, and clear my values. Now I've got these pick points generated. I need to come back to the center for my head tube, where my mini bike or my pedal bike's head tube is going to get welded in here. So I'm going to select that. And let's go and look from the back now. I'm going to slowly tilt that this way. I'm selected at this top right one, and I want it to come into the center and then forward some. So we're going to go to the left 6 inches. Actually, I'm going to hit apply here, clear values, and then I'm going to select this point And that's what I'll go forward with. And I'm just going to go forward 5 inches here and then hit apply, clear values. All right. I know that this does not look like really anything right now, but once I start adding the tubing here, it's going to make a lot more sense. First, because I know my head tube is going to be 1.5 inch tubing, and I want to know where my rake is going to be as far as the angle of my front end. Now, on a drift trike and on choppers and things like that, a longer rake, if that's what you want to call it, where the front tire is further away from your main frame, that would generate a smoother ride for, let's say, a chopper or a mini bike. But if you were to go straight up and down on a mini bike or motorcycle or something, that would create your frame. It would actually be kind of sketchy to ride that because it would want to flip and turn on a very steep rake, and it would be pretty unsafe. So we do have to have a little bit of rake, which would be anywhere between 5 and 15 degrees or so. But what we're going to do is I'm going to select this reference point, and I'm going to go up. Most of your head tubes on pedal bikes are about 5 inches. So we're going to go up 2.5 inches. And we're going to go back 1 inch. We can see now already the angle here. And I'm going to hit apply there. And I'm going to flip this to the forward and to the floor and hit apply there as well. Clear the values. Now, this probably doesn't make any sense for you guys right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to add 1.5 inch tubing here, and down the line when we're adding our cutting wrappers, things like that, this is important because it'll give us the right angle and everything of what to notch this tube that's going to meet